Creativity. Creativity. Now you may be saying to yourself, well, Greg, wait a minute, I'm a human resource professional, I'm a trainer, I'm in purchasing, or I'm in operations. I leave creativity up to the creative guys, or the agency, or the artists, or the writers. But let me tell you, everybody can benefit from increased creativity. To illustrate that point, I wanted to quote a recent study that I came across. According to the American Management Association, 500 CEOs from across the country were asked the question, what one thing must your organization do to survive in the 21st century? But one thing must you do to survive? The number one answer across the board was practice creativity and innovation. Now, that same survey, same 500 CEOs, let me have a guess on what percentage do you think said that we're doing a great job of that? Anybody want to throw out a number? What percentage said we're doing a great job of practicing creativity and innovation? 100%? Actually, you're a little high. The actual number was 6. 6% of the CEOs said, yeah, we're doing a great job of that. Now look at that another way. 94% of the CEOs said, we are doing a crummy job of this. The one thing that we said we had to do to survive. So do you think there's, we as managers, no matter what our discipline, whether it's human relations or marketing or advertising or sales or whatever, that as managers we might be able to provide some value to our organizations by practicing increased creativity? Does that make sense? But what I would like to do is give you 4 ways to maximize your idea power. 4 ways to, you might think about it as living your life more creatively so you'll be open to have new ideas. All right? The first idea that I want to share with you is to develop a sense of wonder. Develop a sense of wonder. Creative ideas are all around us. Everywhere you look, you'll see creative ideas. You just have to have your eyes open. You just have to be aware of them. My daughter Erica, 12 years old, she was doing a study for a science class. And they wanted her to do a report on inventions. And so she chose Velcro as the invention she was going to do. Fascinating story about Velcro. The guy that invented it, he was a Swiss engineer. He's out walking in the woods one day. It's a cold day. And he can't keep his jacket fastened. So he's trying to keep his jacket fastened. He's cold. And he said, man, this is pretty crummy. I can't keep my jacket fastened, but I'm not having any problem having cockaburs stay fastened to my sock. And he looked down and he picked one off and he said, I wonder why. So he took it home and he looked at it under his microscope. And he discovered that all a cockabur really is a little ball, a little seed with hooks on it. And his sock was nothing more than a series of loops formed by the threads in his sock. The hooks of the cockabur were hooking through the threads of his sock. He said, gee, I wonder if I could make this commercially and then market and then become rich beyond my wildest dreams. And in fact, that's what happened. That's what he did. And that's a perfect example of having a sense of wonder. He was open to the possibilities. He saw something there. That's also a perfect example of how I define creativity, which is really 2 ideas bouncing together somehow to produce a 3rd idea. The second step is to get out of your comfort zones. Nothing kills creativity faster than routines and habits and ruts. They kill us. It's hard to be creative when you're doing the same thing over and over and over and over again. I'm sure you've heard, if you do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. My favorite definition of a rut is it's a grave with both ends knocked out of it. And that's the way it feels sometimes. We're in one of those ruts. But by definition, a rut is when a car or a wagon has gone down a street over and over and over again, the same place. And so by definition, to get out of that rut, the car has to take a different path. And that's what we need to do to get out of our creative ruts. We need to get out of our comfort zone. So what are some things that we could change? What are some things that we could change in our lives that would get us out of our comfort zones? Any ideas? What's that? Who you eat lunch with. Excellent. What's your name? Renee says who we could eat lunch with. So you could go to lunch with different people. And that makes sense because you're going to get different ideas. Because the idea is if you've got this idea over here and this idea over here, and you've got 2 ideas in your head that ran together, you may be able to come up with a 3rd idea. But if you go to lunch with someone else, they'll give you new ideas, so you've got more ideas to cram together, right? What are some other things that we could do to change, to get out of our comfort zone? Yes? Our route, I love that one. What's your name? Patty? I'm sorry? Hanny says, change the way that we go to work, which is wonderful because you notice different things, don't you? All right, you notice that the billboards in this part of town are different, or the people in this part of town dress differently than the people in my part of town. And the idea is, the more you fill your brain with all these different stimuli, the more ideas you've got to bounce around. The third thing I want to share with you, I'm going to ask in the form of a question. Where are you when you get most of your good ideas? Where are you? Shout them out. Shower, I heard shower. All right, where else? I'm sorry, Jackie? In the car, I heard the shower in the car. Where else? In nature, that just like our Velcro guy, right? You're out in nature. Where else? Beg your pardon? In bed. Those are the number 3 answers I always get almost right off the bat. And so I call those the 3 Bs: the bed, the bath, and the bus. All right, although last week I asked the same question and a guy said, when I'm drinking. So I said, well, that can be the bar. That'll be our 4th B, the bar. But the thing that all of those have in common is the fact that you're relaxed. I'm convinced that nobody knows more about your problems than you. You spend all day with them. They're your problems. You know more about them than your boss, than your subordinates, than your peers, than your significant other. And I'm also convinced that no one is better capable to solve those problems than you. But you got to let those ideas bubble up to the surface. You got to relax. And then 4th idea I want to share with you is play. Play. I flew into Detroit on Southwest Airlines. Has anyone flown on Southwest before? Let me see a show of hands. Who's flown on Southwest Airlines? I love Southwest Airlines. I really do. One time, I will admit, I was the guy that stood up and started this stampede, okay? Because I wanted to be the first guy in line, because I wanted that seat with the extra leg room. So I'm going down the aisle. I'm the first one on the plane. I'm feeling pretty proud of myself, and I'm wheeling my little bag down here. And I notice that the flight attendants in the back, they're not looking at me. They're all looking down. I think, what's so interesting about their shoes? Everybody's looking at their shoes. They won't look at me. So anyway, I didn't think too much about it. I opened the overhead bin. There was a flight attendant in the bin. I swear, there's a flight attendant, and I look, and she goes, bah, like this. And I'm startled, and the people in the back, they're laughing, and then I start laughing, and she starts laughing, and the people behind me are laughing, and it's fun. It's great. Have you ever flown out of Midway Airport in Chicago? Anyone? It used to be, they've done a great job of renovating, but it used to be in kind of bad shape. It used to be in kind of bad shape. There are big potholes in the runway, and we were going down. We were flying out of Midway one time, and big potholes, and we're hitting this, and we're hitting this pothole and that pothole, and the wings are kind of flapping, and things are flopping around. Major turbulence that we haven't even taken off yet, right? And the flight attendant comes on and says, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to apologize for the bumpy ride. It's not the pilot's fault, and it's not the co-pilot's fault. It's the ass fault. Boom. They're always having fun. So what's the point? The point is this: despite all of the problems in the airline industry right now, and you know what they are. You've read about them. U.S. Airways filed for bankruptcy. United filed for bankruptcy. American on the verge of filing for bankruptcy. Despite all that, Southwest is not only not filing for bankruptcy or teetering on the edge, they're making money. They're very productive. And the reason is because their employees love working there. Anyone read any of Robert Leverling's books, Great Place to Work or 100 Best Companies in America to Work For? Absolutely. And you know that if you've read those, you will know that Southwest is consistently rated at the top of those charts. Unbelievable 96% employee retention. The employees love it there, despite the fact that on average they make less money than their counterparts at the other airlines. The point is that they have fun. They like working there. And doesn't it make sense that if someone likes working at a place, they're going to be more productive?